Hey. Today,
Yeah.
on the World Spins Fine on Her Own, we are at church. But not to go to church.
No.
We're at church to learn about the struggles of the newest nation on the planet.
Yeah, very interesting.
And what is the newest nation on the planet?
The South Sudan.
South Sudan.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's an event called EPICS, which stands for, let's see, don't tell me, elderly people, right?
Yes.
Elderly people, EPICH, elderly people in church sometimes.
Christ service.
Oh, in Christ's service.
Yeah, I think everybody's got their own
Elderly people
word for that acronym.
in church
Christ.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to learn about Sudan, the South Sudan. Let me show you what Robin made.
Lit up.
Look at that. She made banana walnut muffins. And I plan to take one of them. Because they were you would not believe how good they smelled when they were baking in the kitchen.
Well, I'm glad.
They were really in the oven in the kitchen.
I'm glad. And it is April 11th, 2024.
So, I'm pulling out my phone because it would look weird if we had the actual camera
Oh, yeah.
as the guy was talking.
Yeah, this way you can be incognito.
But I'm going to let you watch a little bit of it with us. And we'll learn something. Now, I know we're kind of having fun and making light of it, but this nation, this whole area, Sudan, is in such bad shape. Let's see, what can I tell you that we learned? Because we did go to a speaking engagement
On
like
Sunday.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are hundreds of thousands of refugees because there's such turmoil over there. That a lot of the refugees are in Ethiopia and in Kenya. And South Sudan is the newest nation because Sudan, which was under British control until the mid-1950s, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's what they said, 1954, 1955.
Anyway, so...
Yeah.
And then they were, under the control of, I guess it was the Arab nations to the north, which is Egypt. Anyway, it's just been a mess. So anyway, we're going to learn about that in a little while.
And also we learned that there are still tribes over there. So the tribes
Still tribal mentality.
vie to be, the ones in charge. So it's pretty bad.
We got
over
tribes
there.
here. They're called Republican and Democrat.
Yeah.
That's our tribes.
So a little independent and there, and we'll be fine.
All right, so we're going to head inside and we'll share our evening speaking engagement with you guys.
Okay.
And we'll all learn something together.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll help, like maybe the efforts that the reason they're coming to the church today, maybe we're reaching out to you. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I
Who
don't know.
knows? But it was pouring this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't get out and do a normal World Spins Fine.
That's correct.
It was really raining hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's go inside.
They ran to refugee camps when they could. Most of the nations around didn't want the refugees necessarily, but they were okay if they came into their country and stayed in a refugee camp. Now you get food in a refugee camp, you get just enough to live. I mean, they've got this down to a science. Here's the number of calories you need, this is what you get to maintain your life. Well, you have to be registered to get the food. And these refugees that come in are not registered for another month or so. So they're begging among their neighbors in the camp, and the people in the camp are pretty good. They share their food. But everyone is hurt in the camp because they go hungry for a while. The people obviously are traumatized by war in the refugee camps. And most of the refugees from the Lutheran Church of South Sudan were women and children. I've seen two numbers, 85% and 90%, but let's not quibble over 5%. Lots of women and children. The men, especially the pastors, were systematically targeted during the war. By the way, if you have any questions, you want to interrupt, please ask as I go. So this is a picture of Ethiopia, where the Lutheran Church of South Sudan is today, its headquarters are, and South Sudan. So to the right is Ethiopia, and to the left is South Sudan. You can kind of see the big words that say Gambella. That is the new home of the Lutheran Church of South Sudan. They used to be up in the upper left corner. You can see the darkest words up there. It says Malakal, and that's one of the places that just burned down, an oil center that burned down. That's where their headquarters were. They packed up and left. Just to put this in perspective, give you a little bit better picture. This is Africa, the Horn of Africa. Well, this picture didn't come out at all. Don't have that green one. Anyways, the red dot is Gambella. It is to the north of there is Sudan. To the west is South Sudan. To the south is Kenya, and to the southwest is Uganda. The Lutheran Church of South Sudan has member congregations in all of those 5 countries. And most of them are in refugee camps in those countries. So they resurrect themselves in Gambella. What is the church going to do? They're hurting. Number of pastors is way down. What are they going to do? They go back to their roots. They're still a church. They're still a church, and they're going to do as best they can, although they don't really know how to minister to people right away who have seen the horrors of war. And they learn as they go, fortunately. So they try to carry out their mission with a war-torn people, and they learn as they go, and they're being successful in terms of learning. What they have been able to do is bring the Word and Sacrament to the refugee camps and to many other areas around those 5 countries. Gambella, let me back up. One of the tribes in Ethiopia, in South Sudan, is the Nuer tribe. The Nuer to the north are in South Sudan. To the south and the east is Ethiopia. So this is a tribe that got cut in 2 when the United Nations divvied up countries and made countries. So some of the people did not go to refugee camps. Friends in the area welcomed them. Tribal friends welcomed them and let them stay with them. So not everyone's in a refugee camp, but most are. Obviously, these people are so hurt that only Christ can bring the hope that they need. The church has done a lot. They really focus on women's ministry. 85 to 90% of the people are women and orphans, women and children. And they found out that if women minister to women, it's very effective. They're able to share stories and heal themselves. So they have a well-defined women's ministry there. It's all overseen by pastors, which is good. But the women do a better job of ministering to hurting women than pastors can do in general, for the obvious reasons. Now, I talked about tribes. In Ethiopia, in Gambella, there's a river called the Barrow River. On one side of that river is the Nuer tribe. On the other side of that river is an Ethiopian tribe called the Anwak. The Anwak people didn't have a pretty good church. And oh, by the way, the Nuers and the Anwaks over the years have developed a not very nice relationship. The Lutheran Church of South Sudan was able to bring a church over there, train some Anwak people, and now they are a member. The Anwaks have their own church, their own congregation, and they belong to the Lutheran Church of South Sudan. This was such a big deal that these 2 tribes are getting together over Christ. that the mayor of Gambella had a ceremony honoring both sides and said, look what we can do. And of course, he should have said, look what we can do when Christ is involved, but it's a secular identity. So it was a big celebration. Big celebration. Oh, come on. There we go. Now, as I noted, a lot of the pastors were murdered in the war. And that meant over 300 congregations, but there were less than 150 pastors after the war. So a lot were murdered. The people are hurting, really hurting. And the pastors can bring God's comfort, God's comforting words to the people. And when you're short of pastors, that's hard to do. Now, in Africa, and in particular this region, Christianity has competition. There's animism. Animism is where you say, that tree over there, that's God. Oh, this lake over here, that's another God. Oh, that mountain over there, that's yet another God. Well, people worship these things. Well, actually, they're worshiping creation instead of the Creator. So that's something that's evolved over hundreds, thousands of years. As well as ancestor worship. Worship your ancestors. They'll see to it that you're taken care of on the face of this earth today. And there's a number of other pagan religions. But the one that I find personally to be the hardest one to get my head around, or maybe the worst, is prosperity gospel. Because it comes across as though they're preaching Christ. But it's, yes, if you believe in God, you will get this money and you will be taken care of and your life will be blessed because of the wealth. And things are so poor there, that catches on pretty good. So it comes across as though it might be Christianity, but it's something far worse. So the bottom line is there is a real need to train pastors and get the number of pastors in the Lutheran Church of South Sudan at a better congregation to pastor ratio so that the proper gospel can be preached to people, so that the word and sacrament can be delivered correctly, if you will. So, in 2014, the Lutheran Church of South Sudan founded a seminary, Trinity Lutheran Seminary, which I call TLS for short. I might use that terminology today. The gentleman with the white shirt and the white beard and the white guy, he's Doug Morton. And he helped organize the seminary. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. And he was the first dean of the college. And he got things organized and got pastors in. And because of him, there is a seminary today. So kudos to Doug. God has worked wonders through him.
All right, so we just saw a presentation. I taped a little bit of it, so you heard Mark. What's Mark's last name? Do you know?
I don't remember.
We'll find out. And learned a lot about that area of the world, Sudan.
South Sudan.
And Ethiopia, Kenya.
Egypt.
A little bit about Egypt.
Yeah.
And
they're in control, he said at one point. Egypt is still kind of in control.
We're so used to having a constitution and a military that defends that constitution.
That's right.
And over there, apparently, if you have a constitution, it's only as good as the person holding it or whatever.
That's right. There are a lot of tribes over there, and as it was explained to us, a general from one tribe will rise up. They'll be in charge of the country. Then another general will rise up, kill the first guy, and take over.
It's crazy. It's like the Wild West or something.
Yeah,
or
very
worse.
scary. A lot of women and children and orphans.
Very interesting. All right, we're back in the car again.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. I have a couple thoughts on what we just saw.
Okay.
So obviously I didn't tape the whole thing, but you saw Mark Locher, Locher, presenting us some information about how the ministry, the church, is in America and probably in the free world in general.
Yes.
Is trying to help the people in some of the poorer African countries. And in discussing government and in discussing constitutions and things like that, it doesn't sound like there's much for them to hold on to. Like we have a very strong, we adhere to our Constitution in a very strong way. We, the Bill of Rights is something we embrace, and we defend, and we make sure that nobody's going to take those rights away from us. There, apparently, it's not so hard to take the rights away from people, and basically, literally, to kill them. And
oh, certainly.
So I think my conclusion is a couple things. Well, you asked a great question. You said because they have a college, so they have school for the
nurses,
for the young people.
Yes.
And you asked the question, when they are done with school, where do they go get work?
Correct.
And the first thought you think, well, why don't you come to America? You can make more money. But they don't. They stay there to help their own people.
That's right. They do. And they do get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Because some of the hospitals are private over there. So they're able to get a paycheck for themselves and their families and to help.
Right. And so from our perspective, what can we do to help them? Well, obviously, we can't set up a constitution for them. We can, we can suggest it. But then they have to defend it, and it takes a lot of work to hold a country together. And the three words that make America what it is are we the people.
Exactly.
We decide everything, at least in theory.
Exactly. We the people.
And apparently over there, it's not the way it is. So
no, it's whoever has the most military, and whoever you've got one military person. He's in power. Another military person will rise up, kill that guy.
This is crazy.
And then you got a whole new military.
So how do you stop that? Person. I don't know. That's a God thing.
Yeah.
But what we can do is, because the average person, the average child in the street who's just happy to see that, he showed pictures, little children happy to see them, just giving them hugs.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, sure.
And they're living in grass huts, and that's not an exaggeration. He showed the grass huts, so and mud walls and buildings. So
exactly.
I think so. That's my conclusion. Is the best thing we can do is to help the average people.
Exactly. And they do have the Lutheran Church of South Sudan, North America, set up here. They have a board of directors. Mark Locher is part of that board, and they collect funds. And then whenever anything is needed, Pastor Long, who is the pastor over there, he will tell them what the people over there need. And it's very, very minute, very, very minuscule. And then the money is wired over there, and as soon as it gets there, they're right there at the bank, so they can get this money and purchase whatever it is that they need and take it right there under guards and things, so it doesn't get stolen.
And P.S. they have TVs and radios, maybe not the kind you have in your living room, but they have it, and a broadcast that perhaps is a way to unite the people would not be a bad idea.
And they do have internet, but sometimes it's shut down. So then that kind of communication is gone. So very, very sad over there, but the people across the world come together and try to help. And I just love the smiles on the faces of the children.
So we say the world spins fine on her own, but sometimes it does take a little help.
It does.
It does take a little help. The whole thing, the world spins fine on her own, is basically me and Robin retiring. They don't need us anymore, but we're still doing this. And hopefully, if we reach one person who can reach one person, or maybe if we reach two who can reach two,
sure,
and then those can reach four, maybe it can be exponential, and the world can be a better place.
Sure.
All right, different kind of a show today, or an episode.
But it was very moving, very informative, and God bless you, Mark Locher, and all of the people that are on your team to help make the world a better place, especially in South Sudan.
And by the way, so many doctors volunteer their time to go over there.
Yeah, they give out eyeglasses, they give out pain shots. You wouldn't believe how many people are in pain. One lady, she brought her son to South Sudan, and they were all, last year, they were all done with the medical and things, and the medical people left. And she waited there the whole year. She set up a grass hut there for her and her son, and she just waited
Wow.
because that was the area.
Waiting a whole
that
year in
the-
a grass
yeah,
hut.
Yeah, that the medical people go, and I'm sure, you know, she had some kind of a job and all to sustain herself and her son. But when the medical people were there, she was among the first.
He said when they first arrived, there were 300 people in line
Yeah,
waiting for
correct.
medical attention.
Correct.
In one form or another.
Yeah, so we are very, very blessed here in the United States.
All right, kids. Different kind of a show today. Take
Yeah.
care. Be good. Hey, don't forget to write. We're going to give you the website for that South Sudan, North America thing.
Sure.
And
LCSSNA, I
and the
think.
world spins fine on her own, but
Yeah, it does.
maybe
but
it needs a little bit of help.
it needs help. God bless you all.
All right, see you later.